Hello, this is Lesson 35. This is problems about comparing and problems about elapsed time. Now, whenever we compare numbers, we usually have something that's larger and something that's smaller, and we compare to see what's the difference in between. Now, difference keyword, we know that when we find the difference, usually it's an answer to a subtraction problem. So yes, there are going to be setups for subtraction problems. Now, the first example, or the first part that we're going to look at, I'm just going to walk you through this and show you, is that this is a problem. So we have the biggest player weighed 245 pounds. The smallest player weighed 160 pounds. The biggest player weighed how much more than the smallest player? So this is how I set it up. When all else fails, really just draw a picture. It usually works. So I drew just a rectangle. It could be anything. It could be a rectangle, it could be a tall triangle, it could be a big square and a smaller square. But this one I can see more visually that I drew 245. I know it's my biggest player, so I'm making this rectangle larger than the smallest player. This is the smallest player that weighs 160 pounds. So I need to find out what's in between. That is called my difference. Again, that is a subtraction problem. The way that you'll set it up is you always do largest, or the larger, minus the smaller, equals your difference. So if I were to solve this problem, I have 245, my largest player, minus 160, my smallest player. And I'm going to find out how many pounds more the biggest player is than the smallest player. 5 minus 0. I can't do 4 minus 6, so 14 minus 6. So that means the football player weighed 85 pounds, lbs, larger than the smallest player. That would be my difference. So what we're going to look at together is example 1. This one is kind of with comparing times, or an elapsed time. Whenever we compare elapsed time, like with years, if I wanted to find how many years old America is, I would have today's date, 2015, and I would subtract the year that America basically became an independent country, an independent nation, which was in 1776, the year the Declaration of Independence was signed. So I would subtract the largest year minus the later year, which is 2015, minus the earlier year, which was 1776, and I would find how many years old America is, or how many years basically are in between. So with this one, it says Abe is 6 years younger than his brother Gabe. Abe is 11 years old. So it tells us information really about Abe, but he is 6 years younger. That's a comparing. He's 6 years younger than his brother. That's the difference. So how old is Gabe? So I set it up, again, using rectangles of Gabe and Abe. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. And I know in between here that my difference is 6 years. And Abe is 11 years old. So, since I have, right here, I don't know what is the oldest year, how old the oldest brother is, Gabe. That's my missing number in a subtraction problem, so I am going to actually need to add in order to solve for this. I'm going to have to do 11 years plus 6 years to be able to figure out how old Gabe is, which would put him at 17 years old. So Gabe is 17 years old. That would be a missing number in a subtraction problem, so I do actually have to add to solve for that. Again, drawing pictures really helps. Be able to see the visual. I know this is my difference, how much are in between. Abe is 6 years younger, but he is 11 years old, so I put these two together to equal 17. So example 2, I want you to go ahead and try this one by yourself. How many years were there from 1492 to 1620? Again, I wrote out the setup for you. You have your later year minus your earlier year is your difference. I'm trying to figure out what my difference is. So my later year, the latest year is 1620. I'm going to do 1620 minus my earlier year. The earlier year is 1492. Like that they used 1492 because that's when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to do some borrowing. There's 10, that becomes 1, then it becomes 11. This becomes 5. So this is really tiny, so I'll rewrite it again, don't worry. So I have a 128-year difference. So how many years were there from 1492 to 1620? 128 years would be my answer. That's the difference between those 2 years. Again, do later minus the earlier year. Don't just write the very first one minus the next year that it gives. Always do largest number first. Always do largest number minus the smallest number. Thank you so much for paying attention. We'll probably be creating some problems in class where you're going to be comparing. Maybe we'll compare some of our ages to maybe year that the school started, whichever. So thank you so much for paying attention, and we'll have a great week.